The World Development Report defines gender as the social, behavioral, and cultural attributes, expectations, and norms associated with being a woman or a man. Gender equality refers to how these aspects determine how women and men relate to each other and to the resulting differences in power between them. However, disparities due to gender do not only impact women and men, but girls and boys as well. A number of organizations and agencies have focused their programming on gender issues as they relate to children. This presentation will discuss the role and impact of gender across these issues and how organizations have sought to address them. Let's dive in.
Education is defined as the process of receiving or giving systematic instruction, especially at a school or university. It is the act or process of acquiring or imparting knowledge. Girls and women are much more affected by gender inequality than boys and men, especially when it comes to education. According to UNESCO, 61 million girls of primary and lower secondary school age are out of school. 32 million girls of primary school age around the world are out of school. Twice as many girls as boys of primary school age will never start school. Women represent nearly 2/3 of the world's illiterate. Some countries lose more than $1 billion a year by failing to educate girls to the same level as boys. Providing girls with an education is a must because it helps break the cycle of poverty. To educate a girl is to build a healthier family, a stronger community, and a brighter future. Educated women are less likely to marry early and against their will, less likely to die in childbirth, more likely to have healthy babies, and are more likely to send their children to school. Convinced of the crucial, urgent, and global need of girls' education, Mr. and Mrs. Obama launched the Let Girls Learn initiative in March 2015. It brings together the Department of State, the U.S. Agency for International Development, the Peace Corps, and the Millennium Challenge Corporation, as well as other agencies and programs to address the range of challenges preventing adolescent girls from attaining a quality education that empowers them to reach their full potential. Since the launch, the Peace Corps has funded girls' education projects in more than 38 countries in Africa, Asia, Eastern Europe, and Central America. And the USAID has invested over $600 million on Let Girls Learn programs in 13 countries across Africa, the Middle East, Asia, and Latin America.
Female genital mutilation and cutting, or FGMC, refers to all procedures involving partial or total removal of the external female genitalia or other female genital organs for non-medical reasons. Over 2 million girls and women have undergone FGMC. If current trends persist, 30 million girls are at risk of being cut in the next decade. FGMC is most prevalent in 30 countries across Africa and the Middle East. In Egypt, 87% of women and girls aged 15 to 49 have been cut. In Djibouti, 62% of girls underwent the procedure between the ages of 5 and 9. And in Yemen, 97% of girls underwent the procedure at home, 75% of which were done using a razor blade. Despite its prevalence, there is growing support to put an end to this practice. According to data collected by UNICEF, 67% of women and 63% of men across the 30 countries for which data was collected believe the practice should stop. To help put an end to FGMC, in 2007, UNEFPA partnered with UNICEF to form the Joint Program Against FGMC. The program aims to accelerate the abandonment of FGMC and protect women and girls from the practice. It calls for a community-led and multi-sectoral approach. Phase 1 of the project, which ended in 2013, succeeded with 12 countries adopting national policies or legislation against the practice. Over 100,000 health practitioners were trained on FGMC prevention. 12,700 communities made public declarations of abandonment, and 20,000 religious and traditional leaders disavowed any religious requirements for female genital mutilation and cutting. The joint program is currently in phase 2 of its initiative and aims for a 40% decrease in FGMC prevalence among girls 14 and younger, and with at least one country declaring total elimination of the practice by the end of 2017.
Throughout the world, 10% of those within the 5 to 17-year-old age group, or 168 million children, are laborers. Half of them work under dangerous types of labor that poses either a physical, psychosocial, or moral hazard to them, such as work with chemicals and pesticides, treacherous machinery, and exploitative situations. Asia and the Pacific have 78% of the world's total number of child workers. Sub-Saharan Africa has the highest incidence. 1 out of every 5 children work. Child labor reinforces a cycle of poverty by keeping children out of school. When children are forced into the most dangerous forms of labor, when they then miss school, when they are at risk and their health and well-being are impaired, they must be taken out of such situations. Where child labor occurs, girls typically start working earlier than boys, excluding them from educational opportunities and entrapping them in domestic work that provides little transferable skills outside the home. Engaging girls in domestic work is considered a good investment, while educating girls is considered a bad investment because they leave home early to start families. Another infringement on the basic human rights of children is human trafficking. Human trafficking has been likened to modern-day slavery that subjects children, women, and men to force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of commercial sexual exploitation or forced labor. The International Labour Organization estimates that there are 5.5 million child victims suffering violence, exploitation, and abuse of trafficking and forced labor in prostitution, pornography, sex tourism, forced marriage, sweatshop work, street begging, domestic service, armed services, factory or construction work, and migrant farming. There is a close correlation between gender and the reasons for trafficking, with girls being trafficked mainly for domestic service and commercial sexual exploitation. Of the annual victims of sex trafficking, 41% are children, 94% are female. Solutions to combat child labor require a change in mentality about the value of the labor children can provide. Gender-sensitive programs and policies that combat and prevent child labor are essential to fulfilling the rights of children, including the right to an education, a healthy childhood, protection from violence, abuse and exploitation, and rest and recreation. UNICEF has worked to reduce child labor and to protect children from child trafficking since 1946. According to the International Labour Organization, the number of child laborers worldwide has dropped significantly from 246 million in 2000 to 168 million in 2012. Child labor among girls is falling most quickly, by 40% compared to 25% for boys. The End Trafficking Project is UNICEF's initiative to raise awareness about child trafficking and mobilize communities to take meaningful action to help protect children. In partnership with concerned individuals and groups, the End Trafficking Project aims to stop all exploitation. For progress to be made and continue, UNICEF states that poverty and discrimination first need to be addressed.
UNICEF defines gender-based violence as harmful acts perpetrated against a person based on socially ascribed differences between males and females. While gender-based violence affects boys and men, focus tends to be on its effects on women and girls. Examples of gender-based violence include, but are not limited to, sex-selective abortion, sexual exploitation and abuse, honor killings, child marriage, female genital mutilation and cutting, deprivation of inheritance or property, and dowry bride price abuse. A 2012 study of 800 girls in 4 counties across Liberia found that 88.7% had experienced sexual violence at the hands of a classmate, teacher, or school personnel. According to a partner clinic of Child Fund International, 75% of 650 rape cases were girls under 18, and the second highest number were girls 5 to 8 years old. Child Fund International has focused a great deal of its energies and funding to protecting children from gender-based violence. In efforts to reduce GBV among children, Child Fund International started the Shine the Light program, piloting this project in Liberia, Dominica, Indonesia, and Senegal, and reaching over 20,000 children. The Shine the Light project works with local organizations, law enforcement, community members, and families across genders to raise awareness of GBV. The program seeks to assist in developing protective systems and adequate responses for children being harmed. In Liberia, Shine a Light program was able to form 2 clubs for girls to provide a safe space in the school setting where girls may interact with each other and community mentors about issues such as sexual exploitation and abuse, HIV/AIDS, prevention of unintended pregnancies, and reproductive myths. The program also engaged boys and teachers. Boys were able to learn about the causes and consequences of sexual exploitation and abuse.
Child marriage is a formal marriage or an informal union entered into by an individual before reaching the age of 18. The legally prescribed marriageable age in some countries is below 18 years. In certain countries, even when the legal marriage age is 18, cultural traditions take priority over legislative law. Child marriage affects both boys and girls, though the overwhelming majority of those affected are girls, most of whom are in poor socioeconomic situations. 1/3 of girls in the developing world are married before the age of 18, and 1 in 9 are married before the age of 15. In 2012, 70 million women aged 20 to 24 around the world had been married before the age of 18. If present trends continue, 150 million girls will be married before their 18th birthday over the next decade. That's an average of 15 million girls each year. While countries with the highest prevalence of child marriage are concentrated in Western and Sub-Saharan Africa, the largest number of child brides reside in South Asia. African countries account for 15 of the 20 countries with the highest rates of child marriage. Every 2 seconds, a child becomes a victim of forced marriage in the world. In 2004, the Population Council partnered with the regional government on a 2-year project to delay marriage and keep girls in school in the rural Amara region in Ethiopia. Here, 1 in 5 girls is married before her 15th birthday, and nearly half are married by age 17. Virtually all of these marriages are arranged by their families. The project was called Berani Hiwan, translation Light for Eve, and it provided families with cash conditioned on their daughters remaining unmarried and in school for the duration of the program. Other elements included social mobilization of girls led by female mentors, provision of school supplies, livelihood training for out-of-school girls, community conversations on early marriage and reproductive health. 2 years later, girls aged 10 to 14 enrolled in the program were only 1/10 as likely to be married compared with girls in the control group. And the participants were also 3 times more likely to be in school compared with girls in the control group.
LGBTQ is an acronym that stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer or questioning. The LGBTQ label is sometimes viewed as limited as it does not necessarily cover the full spectrum of minority sexual orientations, gender identities, and/or intersex status. Gender norms and ideals can sometimes negatively impact youth who do not identify with such norms. The following interviews, gathered by Point Source Youth, showcased some of the daily experiences of LGBTQ youth in the United States.
I encountered more problems at the shelter, being gender nonconforming and being gay. I couch hopped after that second shelter because it just didn't feel comfortable anymore. I didn't feel safe in any institution. And I was homeless for about 2 years.
Couch surfing subject, that was one of the most uncomfortable things that I've had to do in my life. And, you know, being gay, I'm pretty sure we've all heard of Jack the Grinder, and, you know, having to go on those apps every night and trying to figure out somewhere to stay because it was dead cold outside and it was still winter time. You know, that's mad uncomfortable to even have to stay at our dude's house.
UN Free and Equal is a global public education campaign for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender equality. The project raises awareness of homophobic and transphobic violence and discrimination and promotes greater respect for the rights of LGBT people everywhere. So far, the campaign has engaged millions of people around the world in conversations to help promote the fair treatment of LGBT people and generate support for measures to protect their rights.
A child soldier is defined as anyone younger than age 18 who has participated in armed forces or groups, either on a volunteer basis or by coercion, directly or in a supporting function. Participation includes fighting, guarding, cooking, or serving as a porter, messenger, a spy, or a sex slave. Thousands of children are serving as soldiers in armed conflicts around the world. These boys and girls, some as young as 6 years old, serve in government forces and armed opposition groups. It is estimated that there are approximately 300,000 child soldiers involved in conflicts worldwide. 40% of all child soldiers are girls. They are often used as cooks and sex slaves. Nearly 500 children serve in armies not currently at war. Child soldiers are recruited by government forces as well as rebel groups. Children are sometimes forced to kill or maim a family member, breaking the bonds with their community and making it difficult for them to return. The United Nations, through the Office of the Special Representative of the Secretary General for Children and Armed Conflicts, launched the Children Not Soldiers campaign aimed at ending and preventing the recruitment and use of children in conflict. The campaign focused on the 8 national security forces listed for recruitment and use of children in the annexes of the annual report of the Secretary General on Children and Armed Conflict. The countries concerned by the campaign are Afghanistan, Chad, Democratic Republic of Congo, Myanmar, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan, and Yemen. All those countries have signed action plans with the United Nations to end and prevent the recruitment and use of children.
Thank you for watching this presentation. We hope you enjoyed it and have a better understanding of the ways gender impacts girls and boys around the world.